temporarily because it turns out they did want to play the game tonight. So on the other computer in the other room, there is a game going right now, which I found out that Tabletop Simulator is a painful experience to use.
Oh, stick with it. Stick with it. It's worth it.
Especially if it's complicated working with lots of little fiddly bits.
It gets better, I assure you. I was the same way when I first started using it. I hated it, but now I'm addicted to it.
You're talking to a crew of hardcore Tabletop Simulator players here, Gordon.
How long did that take you?
Oh, I know. I can see where it. Well, I can see it works better for some things than others too.
It takes a while.
Everybody,
We've already talked about the evil Dr. Starrett. We've already had that conversation.
Just as a moderate experiment, I'm streaming this to my YouTube channel.
Okay.
Uh-oh.
Is that why there's more than one of you logged in here?
Yep.
Gotcha.
It didn't matter. Zoom's distributed it, so we could all be hardcore downloading, and it would only affect our.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, but the problem was I was trying to stream from mine earlier, and the stream from mine wasn't working because of my bandwidth issues here.
Yeah, it was killing you pretty
my
bad.
wife is telling me we're pretty good.
Oh, good. Right. Well, welcome everybody who's watching.
Well, we'll see how many people
Unlike a couple of you.
All one of you, yeah.
I can't
The only person
hiding
watching
your wife right now.
Yeah.
The only person watching right now is Dr. Starrett's cat.
We have 2 people watching. You take that back. I'm one of them.
Yeah, Dr. Starrett's cat's going to be very entertained.
There we go.
Hey, Delanor's on.
I love the hair.
Let's get him on here and talking.
Hey, Delanor, you're welcome to talk over here, you know.
Yeah. Join the group. Send him a link.
Family. Oh, my goodness. So, all right, we got a live stream. Look at that.
Yeah, you get the Deca box going, Jim. That's how I'm viewing it. It kind of helps.
Yeah. I'm gonna do that.
Yeah, that's actually not a bad leg. I'm looking at myself talking. It's very surreal.
Yeah, we're actually pretty tight.
That's cool.
Stuff.
It appears to be working.
We're
All
up to
right,
12
so
people online,
I am sharing the live stream through the social media channels.
Here we go.
For the 2 other people out there paying attention to that. So.
Oh,
well.
Now there are 4 people. 4.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, we're all joining it.
Other people on the chat.
It's all us.
See, I joined it now. Soon there'll be 5. We'll make your numbers really good, Brent.
It's going to be concerning when questions start popping up there for us because we'll be asking ourselves.
I got the chat right here. Don't you worry about it.
Yeah.
Don't you worry about it. I'll make sure to ask all the most embarrassing questions I can. That's what I really do.
I was going to say, how is that different than any other time ever? So.
Oh, there's a delay on the live channel, though.
All right.
It's probably to filter us.
All right.
Jim, what kind of mechanical keyboard you got?
That ain't me.
James.
That's Brent.
No.
Oh.
That's Starrett.
That's James.
For the love of God, what do you got, a Smith Corona, Doc?
Oh.
Yeah.
It was a cold and stormy night. Suddenly a shot rang out.
I always try to mute mine because I have the Kinesis. It's a weird looking one. Yeah.
Yeah, I couldn't do that.
It's got a loud clicky clack. So.
Oh no. Starrett's was made by the Pullman car company of railroad noise.
What?
We can hear your keyboard typing when you're on mute.
I know.
It's that loud.
That's a gift.
It's a pass through that I had to install.
It's working.
Yeah. No kidding. All right, so who's all right, so Martok is only available in the chat because apparently his computer doesn't realize the microphone exists. So
that's not good.
Yeah.
He is drinking Syrian brandy, though, so that's awesome. If it were Romulan ale, he would be visible.
He's got the Klingon cloaking effect going on. Is that why we
He
can't see him?
does. He's cloaked right now.
It's the Orions that are why you can't see him. He's just off screen.
Yeah. So, all right. So who hadn't Mike? You haven't busted out the obscure game yet. What do you got for? Huh?
I busted out the obscure. I didn't have it, but I said Fourth Dimension by.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, Fourth Dimension. You didn't get it out.
I don't think anybody said they had that one.
Well, you didn't show us the box, so we don't know.
Yeah, I wished I had the box, but it's at home, and I'm about 3 hours south of home.
It's
you're
lost
not home?
to the Fourth Dimension.
Where are you?
I'm in Reedville, Virginia, on the Little Wacomico River, which is about 2 miles from the Chesapeake.
You're at your cottage.
I am.
Oh, you're lucky.
He's on the bridge. Can't you tell?
There's about 20 cases of coronavirus here versus the 2,000 plus in Washington D.C. So.
Yeah. Nope. We lost Gordon for a minute there. We lost Adam.
He probably had to go play his game.
Probably. I was going to see. I'm a little concerned about what Gordon's going to bust out for like most obscure game here, for like thing in his in his collection that he doesn't think anybody else has.
So I regret I missed this. What game is Gordon playing?
We're not sure.
don't know.
It's something on Tabletop Simulator.
Wait a minute.
That is
He wouldn't fess up to it, so it's probably My Little Scythe or something. You know. There actually is a My Little Pony expansion for Scythe. So
Hey, there's also a My Little Scythe.
yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Ah,
So
Yeah.
it's no Hanseatic Weed Orgy though.
What
And
is?
it's- yeah,
no, it's Mech Wheat Orgy.
Yeah, by the way, it's Doug Miller's Hanseatic Weed Orgy. We're in a
Yes.
time of branding.
Yes.
Yes,
it's
this
Doug
is
Miller,
true.
yes.
I will tell you that I have already started the document to draft the initial rules for which we could all play test on Doug's behalf. I'm going to write in the rule that, you know, while going to war may be necessary at times, there is a severe point penalty for engaging in martial action. So just because I know
right.
I've dug nuts.
We're not playtesting unless there's a TTS module for it. So.
Can you see
Good
it?
point.
We can see the Easy Money game.
Easy
Easy
Money.
Money.
Has anybody ever played Easy Money, the rip-off Monopoly game from the early 70s?
Absolutely.
There you go.
Seen it, haven't played it though.
Gordon, what do you have in your game collection that you don't think anybody else on the call is likely to have?
All right, I actually brought. I have one of the things I was thinking about. I have to admit, I took two that were fairly convenient that I'm going to bring down. I'll show you. One of which is because it's one of my favorite covers in a game box. If you can see this,
You hold it still.
Return to Europe.
Return to Europe.
I have
Return to
never
Europe.
seen that. No, I see Big
Okay.
Ben.
you can see the American flying wing bombers being engaged by the German Delta Wing jet fighters, while the helicopter gunships in London, and there's a knocked out Panther F.
So the Germans pushed everybody off the European continent. Now the Allies are coming back.
Americans are coming back to rescue. Yes, it's a rather unusual Japanese game.
Japanese,
The
okay.
Japanese game about the Germans.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
I
That
love
people
it.
may have seen. In fact, anybody that came to Connections saw that because I set it up as display as an oddball game.
I love it.
You want
Jim,
something
how
I
did we
don't
miss that when
think
we did a
anybody
whole
else has?
podcast on counterfactuals?
Good point.
It's this aircraft carrier game.
You got to hold it up some. There you go.
Oh, no, I can't read that.
In Japanese.
But on the bottom,
Game.
Game of
Task Force Battle, huh?
Task Force Battle. Yeah.
In the Pacific Ocean, okay.
All right, I think he wins.
more complicated than Flat Top.
Yeah. It's now on Mike's to get list. It's a PTO game.
It may be. I have 2 copies of Flat Top now, so you know.
Oh, you hog.
It was interesting. I went on eBay and there was an incomplete copy for $20, and then this other guy posted a complete copy for $20. I was like, for $40, I can have a backup copy of the counters and the boards too. So I jumped on it.
Are they both the same
Photocopy
edition,
rules.
though?
No,
'Cause you got the original Battle Line one, and then you've got the Avalon Hill one.
One board has 4 pieces. The other board is a 2-piece board. It's kind of interesting.
Oh, wow.
Hey, Ron, nobody else here has heard of it either. Trust us. Except Gordon. He's heard of it.
You got so you've got people in the chat. You're in the YouTube chat. You're talking back to.
Yep.
I got you.
People are watching this. Wow.
Yeah, don't you folks have something better to do with your lives? It's Friday night. We're supposed to be the ones that have nothing better to do with our lives.
They're all over.
Heal thyself.
They're all over at my worst enemy watching my latest turn of Don't Tread on Me.
Anyway,
That other guy's already watched it all, though.
Or not.
I'm going to poke my head back and forth here for a while, but I don't want to hold up the other players, so I have to go take my turn occasionally. So I'll
What's the game
probably
you're playing,
not last
Gordon?
the whole time.
What are you playing?
Somebody wanted to play Relic.
Oh,
Relic.
Okay.
I don't think there's any wheat in that one.
No, but it's Talisman in the 40K universe, which is just great.
Oh, that's interesting.
Nothing like Candyland with bloodshed.
Lots of bloodshed.
Wasn't that Magic Quest? Wizard's Quest?
No, Wizard's Quest is an
Wizard's
awesome
Quest.
game. Talisman is an overdeveloped game of Candyland in which you murder people.
What are you trying to say, Jeff?
You know, if you play Candyland right, you're murdering people. I'm just saying. All you're doing is running around giving people diabetes.
That's the diabetes.
I watched about 30 minutes of the
Cut the
Wizards game, and
diabetes.
I have to say I was flabbergasted by that one. I didn't really understand what was going on.
Have you? Which game was that?
Your Wizards
Wizard's
Saturday
Quest?
Night Fights. Yeah, I'd never seen anything like that.
It's an Avalon Hill classic.
Which escaped my attention, unfortunately.
Yeah, you didn't miss anything.
He was busy playing Easy Money.
It looked interesting though. It reminded me of the Dark Tower, actually.
Did a little of that.
Kind of, sort of.
It was Risk with Orcs.
See, Ron says in the chat, Wizard's Quest is a great game.
There you
Yeah, well, what does Ron know? He's not here.
That's and other things he had to do.
One of the things I'm curious about is why the chat doesn't bother to show up where I am. Oh, there it is. I see, because I'm looking at the wrong corner of the screen. Okay, it's time to change glasses.
Highly trained, highly educated man of the United States military, utterly flabbergasted by YouTube.
Trust me, I get completely confused by computer interfaces all the time.
This newfangled technology, man.
Get it off my lawn.
Keep in mind, so he gets flabbergasted by interfaces all the time, and yet teaches about war games with computer interfaces to your future Sims officers of the United States military.
Mostly it's with board games.
Yes, which thank God. So there's that.
Otherwise, we'd be conquered by Ecuador.
Again.
Oh, the Colombians! Come on, they're ramming passenger ships and losing.
And losing.
That's the best part.
No, that's hilarious.
It is.
For those of you that may have missed the story, there was a Colombian frigate that decided it would be a good idea to force a stray cruise ship into port. And when the cruise ship told him to kiss off, they tried to ram him. Of course, cruise ships, especially those that head way south in the southern hemisphere, are heavily armored against icebergs.
Yes.
And frigates are not.
Colombian frigates.
Yeah, equatorial zone sorts of warships aren't usually concerned with iceberg collisions, and apparently, or cruise ship collisions. And so he rammed the cruise ship, created a hole in his hull, and had to limp back to port.
Sad.
He sank, apparently. That's what I heard.
I would love to have been in that staff meeting.
Was it a Venezuelan? Martok's asking, wasn't it a Venezuelan frigate? Was it a Venezuelan frigate or was it a Colombian frigate?
Sorry, Venezuelan. Yeah, Venezuelan.
Anybody know?
It's Venezuelan.
It was Venezuelan.
Venezuelan, yeah.
All right. In any event, it was a
Will
funny
not
story.
impugn our Colombian friends.
Yes.
They would know better.
They would know better than to ram a cruise ship.
They might have had a
They would have
technical
rammed the
manual.
cruise ship. Yeah, they would have rammed the cruise ship with a drug submarine.
Yeah.
Skipper, I'm just kind of flipping through the tech manual on that thing we're about to hit. And it's reading like a whole lot of armor below the waterline. Are you sure?
Are you sure? Well, they did fire on it apparently to start with.
They
Yeah.
did?
Yeah.
Usually starts that
Warning
way.
shot over the bow.
Oh dear.
I mean, what do you say at that point? Because you're not yelling, "Damn the torpedoes, full speed ahead." There's no torpedoes on a cruise ship. Like, "Damn the bikinis, full speed ahead." Like, what are you yelling? "Damn the mini golf, full speed ahead."
Well,
Like,
And that's the thing is this cruise ship's just hanging out in the Caribbean in international waters doing engine repairs.
yeah.
So they've got one engine turning and the other one's offline while the mechanics are tearing it to pieces.
Dan the Gosling's rum, full speed ahead.
Yeah.
Wow, that's an Archibald.
And so the captain phones home, like he phones Holland.
Caracas.
Yeah. And says, we got these guys.
Somebody just bounced off the hole. What do we
Yeah.
do?
Yeah.
The deckhands are like, oh, we're going to have to paint again.
Yeah.
Wait,
yeah.
Oh, wait, sorry. That was spoken as a coastie, not a
would have been
cruise ship.
entertaining is, yeah. What would have been entertaining is, you know how most of those cruise ships have like the driving tees set up somewhere for you to just launch golf balls into the ocean. Start launching golf balls at the frigate.
Back at them, yeah.
That might have been entertaining. So Stephen, you would have had fun listening to the Chris Weave talk a week or so ago about space combat in the Star Trek universe, because they were talking about big
Still
picture of
haven't
the
watched
Federation,
that. Ugh.
and that essentially the Starfleet is not the Space Navy; they are the Space Coast Guard. So
That's not
they
wrong.
are
What the hell happened to my picture?
because of all the time they spend out there on diplomatic missions, search and rescue kind of stuff. That they're not out there just blowing people up. And one of the more entertaining moments delivered in the classic Chris Weave deadpan was, to my knowledge, no aircraft carrier of the U.S. Navy has discovered an unknown continent at some point, much like Starfleet out locating undiscovered planets. So, but
On the other hand, the United States submarine has discovered an unknown seamount.
yes, intentionally
No,
they bump into it.
No.
rammed it hard. Don't you remember?
Which one?
There was a couple of years back, it may have been 4 or 5 years back now, one of the Navy attack subs was heading home from patrol at high speed, well under the Pacific surface, and slammed into a seamount. I think about a dozen sailors died.
Holy shit,
Wow.
really?
Who
Wow.
knows? So
What-
on the serious side, it's actually not very funny at all. But
No.
How
in
did they
terms
not
of
see it?
discovering terrain features, yes,
Yeah.
the Navy has done that.
What one suspects that the seamount is at least as heavily armored as the cruise ship.
Yeah, probably.
Guess that's submarining by Braille.
The battleship Missouri discovered in Sandbank.
Yeah.
No casualties on that one, other than the captain's career.
Yeah. So, well, that we know of.
True. I am unaware of anybody who was actually injured when it ran aground on the sandbank, but they.
Would you want to be the one to admit to it?
Well, I believe the captain lost his job.
Well, yeah,
So-
but I'm saying if there were any other additional casualties, how'd you break your arm? I fell through a bulkhead when we ran aground.
Ran
You
aground.
wouldn't admit to that.
I think in the inquest they probably would have been forced to, though. So
Maybe.
people
I
were-
mean,
people were
how'd you
interested
break your
in-
arm? Painting accident, Would have found something else to fess up to. Oh,
I was
Mike has left the bridge.
No, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can
We
hear
can
you.
hear you.
I like
You're
Can't
just
see it,
not
Omar.
on the bridge.
cheap ass camera. Zoom is unable to detect a camera.
Did you buy that camera from the lowest bidder?
Yes, I did actually.
Are you kidding? He works for the government. That's what he's supposed to do.
That's right.
He's trained to do it.
So apparently all the people that follow Saturday Night Fights are ex-Navy. Ron served on a frigate, and Ian Jackson served on the. I see what you're saying. It was the USS San Francisco that did what you're describing.
Yes, but that said, Ian did in fact serve in the U.S. Navy.
Is that right?
Yeah. I'm pretty sure that's Rocky Mountain Navy there.
Yeah. So
we had this conversation. The dude was in the Navy. We had a conversation with him on the podcast, even. So
yeah, everybody who does these things.
Does that mean those of us who weren't in the Navy are no longer allowed to follow Saturday Night Fights? We got to get the hell out.
That's going to be disappointing.
Is that
it expands the market in one way and dramatically shrinks it in another.
Yeah. What do you do with the Marines? Like, are the Marines allowed to follow?
No, Ian, that is not Rocky Mountain Navy. Ian was RAF.
Ah.
We have a bunch of Navy guys watching our land battles.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we've got Boyer on there now also. So, Boyer apparently tried to ford with an open hatch one time or something. So
as a matter of fact, on the chat, he just said, I almost drowned in a tank, if that counts.
Yes, that was to which I was referring.
Yes.
I think it does.
So
who's the U-boat commander?
So we got RAF, we got a drowning tank, and we got Navy, which is a nice mix.
And you got
in here we've got another tanker, and we've got a coastie, and a whole bunch of adjuncts.
I've been about 4 decks down on a sinking boat that was waist deep in water, looking for the hole to plug it. That counts.
Yeah, that counts.
Was that intentional?
Sounds pretty exciting.
The sinking boat wasn't intentional. Me being on it was.
I wasn't sure if that was like the training exercise of fix the hole in the boat.
No, that was a live action.
Yeah.
I'll borrow Ben Johnson's comment. It focuses the attention.
Yes, yes, it does.
I'll bet.
And we actually saved it and got it back to port. It was actually somebody bought it and they were going to turn it into a floating restaurant. And as they were towing it out, they noticed it was starting to sink.
You think you'd notice that before you bought it? Just, I don't know.
Maybe.
Pre-purchase inspection kind of thing.
Having never been in the market for a boat of any size, I guess I don't know.
Yeah, but
so maybe something fell off when they started moving.
Now, how big is this boat that nearly went down?
Well, I was 4 decks down. It was rather large.
So what was it?
You mean what type of boat?
Yeah.
It was almost a reef.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Phrasing wise, it was just a big old boat that had a bunch of decks on it and was sinking.
Ian, I think crashing a plane only counts if it went down in the water. So
no, that totally does count. Where did you? Okay, all right. Where did you crash a plane? I want to know. Was it yours?
We obviously walked away from it, so it can't have been too bad of a crash.
Well, no. Here's the follow-up though. When he said he crashed a plane, was he the pilot or was he the mechanic?
Yeah. Well, yeah. Good point.
Talk to me, Goose. You don't just get to say laugh out loud. Nope. We need an answer. We're gonna need an answer. You crashed a freaking plane, which is a pretty good thing. Well,
the tribunal of Zoom demands an answer.
He was in training, and the prop stopped at 200 feet.
Ouch.
Well, okay then.
This too focuses the mind.
At that point, though, you've got wings to glide in, I would think.
Yeah.
Oh, easy for you to say.
Well, yeah, because I'm not ever going to do it.
Right. I'm just, look, I've been in enough IL-2 Sturmovik simulations to know that when them props start spinning, cancel Christmas.
Yeah. Well, it's like the old thing that the whole point of that propeller, that is the fan to keep the pilot cool. And the way you know that is whenever it stops, the pilot starts sweating.
Yeah.
He said he had to land it in a field.
Oh, well. I suppose given the alternative of that or the suburbs, you know.
Look, I got yelled at on YouTube for taking a picture of a guy's farm not far from this background. I can imagine what it's like if you drive a plane into it.
It would have been more fun if you'd been using that guy's farm as your background.
Fair enough.
So you're saying Eckmühl is still considered a state secret?
No, it was actually not Eckmühl. It was Teugenhausen, which isn't far from here. And I posted a video of Teugenhausen from the Buchberg, and somebody jumps on YouTube and says, "That's my house. Why are you taking pictures of my house?"
Can we all just chuckle at the part about where Jim is actually sitting in his house in Milwaukee and he's pointing over his shoulder and going, "No, it was right near here." And it's half a world away.
Not wrong.
While hanging out in his Napoleonic pajamas.
And to Ian's point, it gives you a brown moment.
Yes.
I'm not gonna. Who am I to dispute that?
I'm going to take his word for it, and I hope I never have an occasion to find out. So.
Oh, you must have had brown moments in your tanks.
Now, there's not a lot that you're not going to run over, right? I mean,
yeah, but you get falling holes and shit.
So I will tell you, there's a couple of California redwoods out around Fort Hunter Liggett with some fender-sized holes in the trunks. The majority of which were not from me. There was when I first got to Fort Hunter Liggett in January of '95, the unit there was we were part of the Apache Longbow initial operational tests, where they'd proven the concept from a hardware perspective, but now they were doing the actual doctrinal tests of how are you going to employ these things in the field under as close to simulated wartime conditions as we could get, and so we were the op for all of that, and so they're flying Apaches around, in their 4 helicopter sets, and what we do is we'd go out and we'd run one scenario against the A and C model. The problem with being in the Central California mountains is from November to March it rains. Like Central California's got 2 seasons, green and brown. And when it's the green season, you don't get off the roads because your tank rapidly becomes a pillbox. And the water table is just too high. It can't support 60 tons worth of tank. And you go down in a hurry. And so, to Boyer's credit, the driver is not in a happy place as there's mud coming up to his vision blocks. And I gave all kinds of people all kinds of crap because everybody's getting stuck all over the place, scooting off road everywhere. I told my driver we're staying on the damn road, and I don't care if we get shot on the road because it's just laser tag. We're not going to be digging our tank out of the mud. The last night of night trials, as we're coming up on a hard right turn, getting shot at by lasers from Apaches, the driver's night sight falls out of the vision block into his lap. And he can't see what he's doing. And we're yelling at him to turn right, turn right, turn right, turn right, thunk right into the tree. And these California redwoods and California oaks, I mean, these things are I don't know, about a 5-6 foot diameter. I mean, these are like 180-year-old trees or older.
It's not going to move.
And at least one of them has a fairly significant M1 sized fender divot in it from the spring of '95 where I rammed the living shit out of it. So
it didn't move and you stopped, right?
Oh yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
No, we were there for the duration because we had to wait for everybody else to clear off the road, coming behind us. We were one of the first 2 or 3 tanks in the formation most nights. He company commander put the new lieutenant up front, which was fine. Like you're staying on roads, you're not getting lost. I mean, and the maneuver area wasn't that big. I'm pretty good with maps. So we weren't getting lost. But there were only so many places you could go. And again, we're mimicking Soviet doctrine. So it's stay on the road, stay in column as long as possible. Don't deploy until you have to.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of ducks in a row. Which, okay, fine. Makes it easier to keep track of where all your guys are. Nobody's getting lost in the dark at that point. But yeah, we crushed the comp idler arm. We weren't going, we had to drag it up to the road, repair the comp idler arm in place before we reconnected the track and then got dragged back home. So it was a long night. A long night. Fortunately, it wasn't raining on us when it happened, but it was a long night.
So from Brian Boyer, all it takes is one loose wing nut and the night sight is in your lap.
Yes. Yes, and unfortunately, my loose wing nut was the driver.
To which Ron replies, or the wing nut driving.
Yeah.
Yes. And yeah, the dude we had behind the wheel that night, nice kid, really nice kid. Every platoon has that one idiot that like you pick up at the central issue facility. Everybody's got their platoon idiot. He was ours. And they put him on my tank as the platoon leader, not as like a hazing thing, but because I had a pretty solid, strong gunner on my tank that they wanted supervising this kid. And that kid had so many issues. He was a subscription. He had so many issues. He was usually a pretty good driver. He happened to have the night sight phone in his lap. Normally, I didn't have any issues with that kid driving. The dude I had as the gunner was right. This dude was capable of. He could like calculate logarithms in his head, and Boyer will get a kick out of this. The dude ended up sinking ankle deep in a barrel of track grease while bore sighting one day.
Oh dear.
When you bore sight a tank, you've got the bore sight device goes into the barrel of the tank, and you align the barrel directly on the target at 1,200 meters. That's the range you bore sight them at. And then once the barrel is on target using that optical device, then you toggle all of your optics inside the tank to match what the barrel's pointing at. That way, if the optics inside the tank ever get slightly out of skew, you use the bore sight to recenter them. It's the same concept behind zeroing your sights on an M16.
Okay.
Only on a really big gun. And so part of what you're supposed to do is you've got somebody outside the tank while the TC and gunner are inside the tank. You have somebody outside the tank, usually the loader, who puts the device in the barrel, and then he has to stand up on something to be able to look through the sight, and then he's using hand signals to tell you inside which way to move the gun to get it on target. And then you've got to flip the thing over and make sure that it's still aligned correctly. And what most folks use to stand on, because it's not like a step stool as part of your standard equipment on a tank. What most folks do is they grab the 5-gallon can of grease out of the turret rack and they put it out there. And somewhere along the way, when these guys were working on the track, they didn't really tighten down the lid on the grease. And so when he went to step up on and put his foot on the bucket to stand up, the toe of his boot caught the edge of the lid on the grease and kind of flipped it off. And then when he stepped down past ankle deep in the grease. Now, what's your first inclination of what do I do when I've got shit all over my boot? You start trying to wipe it off on the ground. Well, we're out there in the sand and dust and pebbles and everything. So now Bynum's ankle deep in pebbles stuck to his boots with the grease. And we look, I mean, we're looking through the auxiliary sight, which is below the main gun and the turret, but it's a direct telescope straight through the turret to look out. And we see Bynum kind of dragging across, and he comes back across the side, and he goes back across. We're like, what the fuck? So I stick my head out the turret. I'm like, what are you doing? They're like, stuck my boot in the grease bucket, sir. We're like, I don't think that's one of the steps for bore sighting, dude. Like, what are you doing? Like, kind of explain it all, and like, half a roll of paper towels later, trying to clean his boot off, and the driver laughing his ass off this whole time. We finally, were able to finish bore sighting. Yeah, Boyer's talking about he had a ladder. Yeah, it'd be nice to have the ladder. Unfortunately, that's not what the case was on this one. So, yeah, and again, like, this is a dude who legitimately could have become a rocket scientist, and may well have. Like, this was 25 years ago, so he may well have become a rocket scientist at some point. He was one of the most whip smart guys I'd ever met. But again, thank God for tanker boots, because I wouldn't have wanted to watch that guy try to tie laces in the morning. So. Yeah, good times. Oh,
yep.
James is.
I gotta go. See you guys.
All right, later. We're down one dock. So.
Oh, and the good doc left too.
Yeah, we lost the good doc and the evil doc.
I hope he's okay.
So, Jim, you should have at least had a picture for your other feed there.
Well, it doesn't show up on the feed.
Oh,
Oh,
okay.
it doesn't.
Zoom is actually very smart. It only shows the people that are speaking or are making noise.
Gotcha. So Martok will not appear at all.
Martok will when he talks.
Well, again, Martok will not at all.
He's not talking. His mic doesn't work.
We will speak on behalf of Martok.
Yes,
We shall. Qapla'.
we can. So, Adam, have you been playing with your 3D printer anymore lately?
Yeah, I'm actually printing a ruined building right now. So,
Do you print it whole and then ruin it yourself, or do you print it in a ruined
That was
state?
my question. This was my question. Do you make a nice building and wreck it?
no, the models I got.
Set it on fire and melt it a little bit.
Yeah.
That would
That would
be
be
cool.
awesome.
Yeah, the ones I got though that on Thingiverse were kind of ruined. So
So you're
Yeah,
printing individual walls and then putting them together, or
no, this one's a pretty basic kind of ruined brick building, so you don't need to segment it out. The segmented ones, they like I bought this they had this Humble Bundle with a bunch of 3D stuff, and you print like the walls, and they have like little columns. You match them together, and I just get I'd rather just like it be like a day and a half build where it just prints it all, and I don't have to think about it. They turn out pretty good.
What scale?
28 heroic.
Okay.
So.
So, question off the chat: what printer do you use?
Yeah.
Oh, I got the CR10 Mini. It seemed like a really good deal in terms of price performance. It has a pretty big bed. Anything that I've wanted to throw at it for that, it's been fine. I definitely want to get one of the resin printers, but I've just read that they're a little more work in terms of you have to wear gloves or else you can poison yourself. So that doesn't sound.
So what material
Gloves
do you
being
use
in
on your
short
printer?
supply these days.
Yeah, it's a PLA. I use PLA,
PLA?
and then
Yeah.
I have a wood-based PLA that I do. So I printed some wood stuff. It's a little overhyped. People online are like, "Oh, it looks just like real wood," and blah blah blah. And I'm a real woodworker, so I printed it like, I mean, it looks okay.
It's passable at a glance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I do use it for like printing little like brackets or little small things that I was printing little knobs. So you save $2, $3 for 10, 15 minutes of a print, which is pretty nice. It's been fun. Yeah.
The warning from Ian Jackson is resin is awesome, but it does stink the house out. He has both resin and filament.
Yeah.
Adam, I was actually thinking of both you and Stags today because my wife, we drove over to Joanne Fabric. She was picking up some stuff because my wife now has the sewing bug for making some face masks here, and so we were picking up some material. But they've got on the sales stack back behind the register, there's a whole bunch of Panasonic 3D printers. Oh, wow. And I'm thinking, if Joanne Fabric is selling the 3D printer and it's on clearance, how quality could it actually be?
Yeah.
And was thinking, as cool as that might sound, even if I had a job and could afford it right now, I would probably take the pass. So, but you guys are the two dudes that I know that actually have 3D printers and do stuff with them. So,
Yeah, it'll eventually pay for itself. I've committed to not buying terrain, to printing all my terrain, but the figs, maybe with the resin, I know the resin printers are supposed to be, if you can get a high resolution, it's just as quality. But to me, my printer can't do what the quality that I'd like to see on figures.
Can you print us some farmer meeples with pitchforks?
Yeah, that's
the real question.
The plastic meeples would actually be better than like 28 mil or less.
Jim, we're going to have actual farmer meeples for our playtest of
Hanseatic Wheat Orgy. I've been building other games. I was building I found the Battle of the Five Armies set for Tabletop Simulator, and it's based on the War Master 10mm system.
Okay.
And as Games Workshop has hoarded itself elsewhere and left in its wake, like a whore does, a string of broken hearts and empty wallets, they've even dumped specialist miniatures, and I was told they've informed the company that used to do their 10 millimeter that they shan't be allowed to do it anymore. More and more of the War Master universe appears to be embracing 3D printing, because you're printing out a strip of guys. You're not printing out individual figures.
Yeah.
And the level of detail, you know, the whole point of War Master was we're going to jam what looks to be and about 30 guys onto a pretty small space and have it give this real nice appearance of mass.
I can see 6 and 10 working pretty good, just because, yeah, again, you're not getting much detail on those figures to begin with, and you're just slapping on a little paint. It's just with mine, it's kind of a layer based. So even at a high resolution, you can still kind of see, it looks like a pyramid if you zoomed up. So you either have to sand it down, but with, little tiny guys, they're just basically,
Yeah, if Jim doesn't get his square buttons, he is not interested, man.
No, if you look at especially when you look at the big battlefields, like Blucher, we're playing with guys that are essentially 12 millimeter. If you were to stick a block next to them and stuff like that, they look nice. But because they're rendered models, you can zoom right into them.
Oh, sure.
And if you've seen our guy Giorgio's figs, they have mustaches.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can see the whites of their eyes. For those of you wondering where the Hanseatic wheat orgy jokes are coming from,
that's
Doug Miller's
Doug's
Hanseatic
name,
wheat orgy. Vance has screen sharing turned off on the Zoom meeting, so I can't pull this up on the screen for you. So
I can turn that on.
there's the Hanseatic wheat orgy. So, but yeah, we'd been joking about it for some months now on the podcast, that I felt the need to actually take a little bit of time and mock up the cover for him.
That's awesome.
So speaking of, Jim brought up GW, so I did find a couple that I thought, well, it's a childhood, not a very good game.
The Battle Masters.
No, that's an awesome game. That is an awesome game. Don't you ever apologize. I have 4.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah, it was. I have 4 copies of Battle Master. Reason being, it was an astonishingly cheap way to get your mainline Empire fig.
Yeah, a lot of minis in there. Yeah.
Yeah,
I thought you were going to say because why not?
Because why not? No, I was actually at Gen Con when that launched, and I'm late to the party. Don't get me wrong, but I finally got caught up with the Toys That Made Us.
Oh yeah, the Ninja Turtles one I watched, that was really good. Yeah.
Yeah, and I started with, they're all great. You should see them all.
Okay.
The Star Wars one is amazing. Just all the little facts that it gives you about why those little figs and all this stuff. But the thing that always strikes me about toy guys is they never look like what you expect a toy guy to look like. They're all basically guys that got laid off by White Westinghouse and wound up having to sell toys. And so they're all guys named Irv from Schenectady. Yeah, I'm here to sell you a toy. It's the best freaking toy you're ever going to see. It's
careful. I'm going to resemble that remark before too long.
I'm going to sell you toys for your kids, for your daughter particularly. I got your Easy Bake Oven right over here. But the thing
that's much better than your Heimlich accent from the other night. I'll tell you.
The thing watching that and seeing this whole business with Battle Masters, the guy selling Battle Masters at Gen Con could not have conceivably been more out of place. He was wearing a plaid sport coat, a wide tie. This is what, about 1983?
That's wide ties. That's wide ties.
Oh, yeah. No, they were over by then. We were skinny ties.
They should have been, maybe.
That's and he's standing there and he's pulling people over. Come here, I want to show you the game. Come here. I go, what are you doing? This is a field of socially maladjusted nerds. But he had these really cool figs. This was when Milton Bradley decided to take a hard run at this.
I would imagine that would be quite the draw. I mean, I would have been really into it at Origins. Was it a big seller or popular, talked about?
It was like I say, this was when Gen Con was up here in Milwaukee.
Oh, it was a Gen Con, not Origins. Okay.
Yeah. But again, Gen Con, like Origins, used to have a substantial wargaming presence. We only got run into a cul-de-sac in about 88 or 89, prompting the famous pin, "I found the war games at Gen Con."
Yeah. 06, there was a significant war game component at Gen Con still, because I was there that year working the Matrix booth.
And that's already an indie.
Yes.
Yeah, it's nothing like it was in Milwaukee. Nothing.
Oh, I'm sure it's not, but
yeah, no, I mean, yeah, they were still there, but we hadn't formally been pushed away. Shoot, what's his name? He's since passed away. Mike Novak. He was running volley and bayonet games, Napoleonic volley and bayonet games at Gen Con. So yeah.
Were you at the 06 show in Indy, Jim?
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you remember the HeroScape table that was there that year?
Sure, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. So how many of you guys besides Jim know what HeroScape was?
Sure.
I know what it is.
Yeah, so thing you could pick up and target, whatever, but it had the modular hex terrain that you could build and assemble. So these guys, Origins vets will know. So the tables that we use, the rectangular ones, the 3 foot by 8 foot, whatever, they had like 4 of these pushed together. So they had like a 9 by 8 foot box that was, I don't know, 1.5 feet deep of HeroScape terrain, nonstop, just completely coated the entire thing. And they had it set up. It was at the center of their booth area. And I remember for sure they had the one table. For some reason, I'm thinking they had a second similar table next to it. But they had it set up such that they basically had 8 different spots around the edges that were kind of distinct little mini skirmish battles all on one monster table together. So that way one person could like grab 2 people and just grab a corner of the table. Here's how this thing works. And let me show you over here. And so right on this corner, they had the Highlanders chasing the dragon around. And on this other corner, they had, the futuristic robots and the ancient Romans. And on the other corner, they had, they just had them sort of spread around the table. But the table itself, I mean, again, it was stacked a foot deep with HeroScape tiles. This thing easily had $20,000 of HeroScape terrain, just the terrain, at retail price stacked up on it. I have a box of the HeroScape stuff here. I knew I had it somewhere. I found it when I was looking for something else here in the office. Just thinking about how much of the terrain I had versus what I saw at Gen. I couldn't have even stacked up one of the skirmish battles in the corner with the amount of the terrain that I've got, and I'm a couple $100 into it. 15
speaking
years.
of that, with the 3D printers, can you print your own hex train like the Hero?
Yeah, I'm thinking I've seen some commercial stuff that's modular hexes that snap so you can build your battlefields. I can't remember the name of the company.
Yeah.
But stuff like that, flat stuff that that you would then paint or texture on yourself. You'd definitely, because terrain is, I think, it's really expensive.
Yeah. But you could do like 2-inch hexes or something.
Yeah, totally. I definitely, it's on the list.
Yeah.
My buddy though, he just gave me he got it. Some guy was moving. He was helping a guy move, and he gave him like a Citadel table that's plastic molded terrain, and so I kind of lost. I was like, he's like, I don't have room. Here you go. So I was like, wow, this is really, really sweet. But
I had a good friend of mine that one of the Origins, he came up to help work the old Bayonet Games booth. He knew they were going to be there, so he had planned to sink a bunch of money into the Dwarven Forge guys, and he'd actually emailed them ahead of time and said, "Hey, look, I'm coming. This is my budget. I'm taking everything back home with me. What's the best deal you can cut me?" And they said, "Show up, come see us like Sunday morning. We'll give you as much as we can give you," because they don't want to have to take it home.
Yeah.
And so you don't get first pick of what's in there. But Chris left out of there, I think he dropped like $85, which isn't a lot for the Dwarven Forge stuff. But when he got home, he sort of pulled out the catalog and was adding it all up. He got like $390 worth of stuff for about $85 because these guys didn't want to have to haul it all home. And setting the stuff up. Steven, I don't know if you ever remember seeing when Chris used to bring some of that stuff into CCIS for the lunchtime games.
Yeah.
That's where all that stuff came from.
Gotcha.
Was the Origin thing. The stuff is really cool. I mean, it looks awesome on the table, but the challenge is it doesn't reconfigure well on the fly that if you're doing a multi-encounter something to have to take it all down and set it all back up and piece the right stuff together or whatever, it's a real pain in the ass to do it on the fly. It's great if you can like set up one big battle board and leave it there for the duration of the game that you're playing. But if you're doing a multi-encounter something, it's a real pain in the butt to set up and tear down. That was our experience there.
See, HeroScape, two things about HeroScape. One, at that same Gen Con in 06, I got to know the designer pretty well. Really good guy. PhD in history, and guess what? Napoleonic history.
Yeah. Yeah, this is Jim's Why I Hate HeroScape rant. I've heard this.
Okay, I heard this one.
I was promised at that Gen Con.
Did they throw Napoleon in there versus
Old Guard? He had just and he said he had to play this game with, gosh, who is it? Is it Hasbro? No. Who does HeroScape?
Yeah, it's Hasbro.
It was Hasbro.
Okay. He had to play this game with Hasbro where he gave them a robot or a swamp creature or a space person. And for every 3 of those, he could get one historical thing done.
Yeah.
I think with Samurai, I think, right?
That's why I have the Templar Knights.
The best?
And
he got Minutemen.
Yes.
He did.
And Roman Legionaries.
I have Minutemen and Roman Legionaries.
Yep. I've got a couple sets of them Legionaries, in fact. One of them might be in the Shrinking autographed.
I guess that explains why they have the weird combos when they had the expansion pack things for that.
That's exactly it. He was so I've got that grievance, but just like, who is it that's saying this? It's actually Dolinor that's pointing it out. Although I do want to show some respect. By the way, we're all talking about Battlemaster in 1983. Apparently, Ian Jackson, who's watching online, he was in the Falklands in camo in '83.
Yeah.
So
I was in Garmisch, Germany in 6th grade in '83.
So
I wasn't born.
Yeah.
We're falling along.
Thanks, Adam.
Yeah, we can save those comments on my birthday. Come on.
See,
wasn't even
here's the
born.
real reason Brant continues to invite Adam. I'm no longer the kid brother on these calls, right? Why Adam is here. Thank God for Adam.
Yeah.
But going back to HeroScape, the other Second Life is what Ron's talking about. It's got a huge Second Life as BattleTech terrain.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You know, because for that, it's just, you throw out, about 15 pieces, you got yourself a battle.
I know I know that one of the local guys that used to run the BattleTech here used to do all this stuff in that. The problem was to have a big setup, it takes a long time to set it up and then a while to break it down.
Well, yeah, it's like the Dwarven Forge stuff. If you're going to set it up and leave the table set up for a large pitched battle, it's totally worth setting up.
But this is the kind of thing where we come in a game store for an afternoon, for a session, Sunday afternoon session. So it's got to set it up, run the game before by 5 o'clock, and then take it all down. Taking it down is not too bad because we all help, but setting it up takes a while.
Yeah. So, Adam, you need to 3D print some terrain for Trail Runners ASL games there. Get some. That way you can actually tell the difference between wood versus stone buildings and who's actually on the second floor.
That'd be kind of cool.
So Trail Runner, did you get the new stuff? Red Barricades?
Well, you might not hear us.
Oh, bugger.
David, are you hearing us?
I'd mute me too.
Yeah.
It says he has his mic on.
Yeah.
Can you hear us, David?
Focused.
Hello, David.
He changed his background to a video.
Very sad. He's had a stroke.
Yeah.
He can't hear us. Hi, David. Can you hear us?
No, the only reason I'm asking is I have a bunch of ASL stuff. I have all the starter kits, but having run at it a couple times, the one thing about ASL has been the one thing that actually was like, oh, I think I do want to play this, was the new stuff that Multiman is coming out from the really big hex stuff.
Oh, the super kits, yeah.
Yeah, those maps in Red Barricades are just spectacular.
See, I started on the starter kits, and because everyone says do the starter kits first. Oh, there you go.
Yeah,
we can hear you now.
Yeah, I have the Red Barricades.
The new one or the original?
I'm not sure he can hear us. I was chatting back at him.
I got them now. Yeah, I got red
Okay, there you go.
barricades.
You got the new ones? Are they as pretty as they look on pictures?
I'd have to take it out of the shrink wrap to tell you that.
We told you he is cast in the role of Mirth tonight.
I'm about 2 modules behind getting to that. I also have Croix de Guerre still in shrink wrapped. I got that at Winter Offensive.
They look.
Do you have Festung Budapest
really
opened up
great.
yet?
Festung Budapest is right over there in shrink wrap.
Shrink wrap.
When Scott first opened Gamers Armory, the front counter where he was, the place they took over used to be a video rental place, and so the front counter had kind of the inlay in there where they used to display all of the all the latest release boxes and stuff, and he and his wife actually fashioned kind of a box to raise the floor of that a little bit, but underneath the glass counter was the Festung Budapest map, one of the early pre-press copies. They had the whole thing spread out underneath the counter there, and that was the glass counter at Gamers Armory.
Yeah, that'd be nice. I was in Budapest a couple of years ago, so I have an interest in playing that scenario. I mean, just a fascinating part of the war anyway.
Yeah.
But I think that's going to be a retirement game for me, or module.
Yeah. It's a big map.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's an El Grande map. This is the part where I freak everybody out. Yeah, I was in Budapest, but it was spring break of 1985.
Nice.
It's been a while.
Nice. So how's that for a spring break destination?
Oh, well, first of all, it's
1985.
It's 1985. Second of all, again, remember the part when I said I was in 6th grade in '83?
Yeah.
It's not like I was hanging out at the waterfront by myself chasing skirts, right? I mean, and again, this is '85. When did the wall come down? So no, Dad snagged a couple of tourist visas somehow for us to be able to go to Budapest in '85. We stayed at the Intercontinental right downtown, and you know, got to see a bunch of Budapest when there were like no tourists, because nobody's doing tourist anything in the '80s behind the Iron Curtain. And I have no doubt that there were like 7 intel agents trailing our family of 4 around the city.
Was your dad in the military?
Especially because,
Was your dad in the military?
Yeah. But
given who your dad was, I'm shocked he got a visa.
Well, he wasn't that guy just yet, at the because he hadn't done any of the arms control stuff just yet.
Okay.
Yeah, Skellog, you're laughing. Jim knows some of the stuff where my dad had done some of the arms control things later, that he got to be a little more well known to the Russians at that point. What he was actually, I'm sure the list that he ended up on at some point in there, the winter of '83-'84. So from the last month or so of '82 until the summer of '84, the U.S. was building a new embassy in downtown Moscow. And they were terrified that the Russians were going to bug the shit out of this thing, which I'm sure they did anyway. But what they ended up doing was, because they were so paranoid of the Russians messing with their stuff, they flew all of the building materials into Helsinki, loaded them onto trucks, and had the co-drivers in the trucks carrying U.S. black passports. So the truck at that point became an official diplomatic pouch, and would drive these things from Helsinki through Leningrad all the way to Moscow. Not a short trip, not a pleasant trip under normal circumstances. And now, you know, Dad spends the winter of '83-'84 on a black passport for 90 days as one of the diplomatic couriers while he was studying for his master's in Soviet studies at what was then the Russian Institute in Garmisch. It's now the Marshall Center. So I have no doubt they knew who he was based on, first of all, ain't that many Ken Guillory's running around the planet, but from the fact that he had shown up on some black passport list along the way. Now we weren't traveling under State Department passport at the time. He was back to his normal military passport, and the rest of us just had basically certainly knew who he was. And but yeah, we went and toured around Budapest, and you know, we ate at the same crappy restaurant on the square downtown several times because they had really good goulash and nothing else was worth eating because, you know, it was a Hungarian restaurant. That's just sort of how it goes.
How'd you get around? Did people They didn't speak English there, did they, at the time?
Not a lot, but there were a surprising number of German speakers floating around. And Dad also spoke fluent Russian, which didn't endear him to the natives very much, but any Russians floating around we were okay with.
No, German was and is a very common lingua franca for people, really more than English.
Yeah.
Once
you get west of France, yes.
Yeah.
Or east of France.
Right. Once when I was with the Moody Bible Institute for a variety of reasons in the period 88 and 89, and I spent a fair amount of time in Poland, and a lot of folks. The other Polish language though was French.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
French. Really?
Yeah, it was very, very interesting because fortunately those are my three languages: English, French, and German. Because Polish, not so much.
But how does that work?
Which seems odd for a guy
named
Ozarski.
Where did the French come from in Poland?
The French was the emigres. There were so many Polish emigres after the war that settled, and they stayed in touch. They actually were the Polish community, especially in Gdansk, which is what I can speak most to because that's where I spent most of my time in Danzig, was heavily, heavily, heavily supported surreptitiously by the expat community.
Right.
And that expat community was predominantly living really in the western part, really in the Ile-de-France area.
Yeah.
Huh. I never would have figured French being a necessary language to get around Poland.
Yeah, me neither.
No. And that was the thing is that, and I like I say, I can speak to Gdansk and a little bit in Warsaw. Poland's a big country like anything else, but that was a striking benefit because we had a couple folks that spoke German, but nobody other than I who spoke French. And believe me, my French is not great.
But it's probably more welcome in Poland than your German.
It is. The funny bit about that, well, look, when we went to when my wife and I took Edward to Waterloo a couple of years ago, we stop at we take the channel to Brussels, have lunch, and then hail a cab right outside the train station. Get in the cab, and our hotel is Le Grand Hotel. That's the name of it.
Yeah.
That is the name. And so we say to the guy, my wife does, whose French is much better than mine, Le Grand Hotel Waterloo, s'il vous plaît. And the guy looks at us and says, lequel? Which one?
Yeah.
And we're like, what? And he goes, and he says, and finally, as we're listening to the guy, he's getting madder and madder. Yeah. And he's going, all the hotels on Waterloo Street are big. That's the main street in Brussels. And finally, we say to this guy, no, the name of the hotel that we're going to is Le Grand Hotel, and it is in the village of Waterloo. And he looks at us and goes, do you understand that that's 20 kilometers away? Yeah. Yeah, you're kind of our only choice here, Pierre. Let's go.
It's that or walk.
After he figured what was what, he turned out to be, cabbies, unless they're from Salzburg, where they're all women, which is a whole other story.
Yeah.
But he was like a cabbie everywhere else in the world, giving people the finger as he drove through Brussels, telling us stories, just regaling us with his heart attack that he had and all this stuff. So that my French was good enough to get us a ride out to Waterloo, except after some difficulty.
Yeah. 06, I get off the train station in Dresden. I'm there for an academic conference, but 06 is while the World Cup is going on in Germany also. And so, I grab a cab because the hotel that I got booked at was not one of the main ones downtown where the conference was. I was out almost like the end of the street was visible from the hotel. And at the end of the street is the sign that says, "You're now leaving Dresden." That's how far out on the edge of town I was. And so, I told the dude where we were going, and he kind of looked at me a little funny. Like he could tell that I wasn't a native German speaker. But but I'm talking to him in German, and he asked me in German, he's like, "Where are you from?" I said, "I'm an American." And he seemed stunned that an American is going to this hotel way out on the edge of town. And I'm like, "Nah, I'm totally fine being out there. It's been a while since I've been in Germany. I need to practice my German, whatever." He's like, "All right, get in, let's go." And so we take off. And honestly, the dude said like 6 words the entire time because one of the Germany games is on the radio. And we get in, and he doesn't have it up real loud. And I asked him, I said, "Can you turn it up some?" And he looked at me a little funny, and he said, "Are you sure?" And I said, "Yeah, Germany's playing whoever they were playing. I don't remember who they were playing in that game, but I was like, yeah, Germany's playing whoever." And he looked at me and, "Okay," and he cranked that sucker up. And we listened to the game for the 15-minute ride out to the. So that's what I'm saying. Like the cabbie said, like 6 words to me the entire time. It's the weirdest cab ride I'd ever had.
That's funny because in '92 I went to work in Munich at the BMW plant because we were building we were helping them build a new compressor section. They were in a
warp drive for the Z3.
Yeah. Anyways, so I land in Munich airport, get in a cab, and start going into town, which is like 20 kilometers from the freaking airport. And I start talking to the cabbie, and he's a freaking Brit. He's an expat Brit driving in Munich. So we're having this great old conversation all the way into town. It's hysterical.
So catching up briefly on the chat, it does not surprise me at all that Boyer has had a crack at Polish and found it remarkably difficult. Yes.
Yeah.
He just wasn't drunk enough. That's all.
Yeah, right. Enough beer, Polish starts to make a lot of sense. Number 2, Ian Jackson tells us that he was actually in air photography working with what was MI4 in WW2. And so therefore the Stasi and the KGB had a file on him.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, my dad was in the Canadian military. He was a radar technician.
Yeah, you'd mentioned.
And he got in at the beginning of the radar tech boom in Canada. Like he built most of the pine tree line, and then when he got further in his career, he bought all the radars for the North Warning System up in the Arctic. And all the time during his career, he was on a "you don't go behind the curtain" list.
Yeah.
Because he had all this information on our radars.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
He was not allowed.
Yeah. It was weird. When we were in Germany 83 to 88. So like, height of the Cold War kind of stuff until Gorby comes in and things start loosening up a little bit. But because my dad, the first 2 years there, he was going through the Russian FAO program. He'd already been to language school for 18 months learning Russian, and now he's getting a master's degree in Soviet studies as a part of his qualification for the FAO program. There were folks taking trips behind the Iron Curtain. I mean, they had organized these things through the school. And so the black passport piece was just serendipitous that they were able to use these guys as part of the diplomatic courier corps. That wasn't normally a part of the curriculum, right? I mean, it's not normally what they do, but they had a 60-day jaunt through what was then Yugoslavia. And this was leading up to the Sarajevo Olympics is when some of that. Now, my dad's group actually went just after the Olympics, tootling through Yugoslavia for a little bit. We were able to go to Hungary like that. There was actually in '86. One of the things you do, like a lot of folks think it's corny as hell here stateside to, join the Boy Scouts or something. But when you're in Europe, you join the Boy Scouts because you get to travel a lot. Go, like one of our campouts, we were in Hameln, as in Pied Piper of. Like we retraced the steps of the Pied Piper of Hameln. But one of them, the camporee, was in Berlin, and so we did this big walking tour through Berlin. So we went to the JFK plots, we went out to Tempelhof Airport, whatever. The second day of sort of noodling around Berlin, they had organized a tour for the Scouts. We all piled into a pair of tour buses, and we went over to the Schliemann Museum, which was then in East Germany.
Really? Wow.
That was kind of, so here I am, 13, 14-year-old me. This is now my second trip behind the Iron Curtain, right? Because I'd already been to Budapest. and we're going through passport control. Everybody's kind of freaked out. I'm like, it's passport control, like big deal. It's like done this a couple of times at this point. It just really didn't. But it's not until afterwards when you look back on it all and you're like, that was really kind of weird, that we got to do that several times. So it was fun.
We were at Checkpoint Charlie last year, and there's nothing quite like realizing it's now owned by Indians who have set it up as a tourist trap.
Yeah.
Their brothers, sisters, and family who do not look at all Russian or West German.
Yeah. When we were at Checkpoint Charlie, there was still an M60A3 tank sitting in it pointed at the Russians.
Well, it's weird because you don't know you've passed it anymore because it's just the booth in the middle of the road.
Thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
Well,
you
there was the
don't-
booth, there was the tank, and there was the museum right next to it.
Yeah, it was so strange. I was going down to the Russian memorial, the one that was so controversial, right away from the Brandenburg Gate.
Yeah.
And I happened to just look down and I noticed there was a brass plaque on the sidewalk, and it marked the spot where Reagan had delivered the tear down this wall speech.
Oh, wow.
There's actually a brass plaque
Cool.
in the middle of the sidewalk. And that's such a vivid memory for me, because that was a
Oh,
big
yeah.
deal.
Yeah.
People, you know, you kids don't understand.
Yeah, we got Adam in here. Adam's like, yeah, I was 4.
we all thought this was gonna
Oh
do
shit!
it.
Yeah,
This was gonna. Oh, now it's
that's
the day.
it. He's done it. Yeah,
That's it. Now it's on.
he's
Now,
thrown the gauntlet. Man.
Well,
Yeah,
isn't that the same spot where Roger Waters performed the wall in like 94 or something?
correct.
Yeah,
So I
So
think he
it's-
made it a point to like set up at the same spot that Reagan
Yeah.
did his speech.
You know, and it was such a dramatic moment. And like I say, we all of us that were, you know, you're young, you don't know. We kind of crap. We had what was the line that that Ian used? We kind of had a brown moment.
Brown moment. Yeah.
You know, we all kind of collectively had a brown moment because
Well, and because we'd all been gaming this moment,
yeah,
right?
we all had games that had this in there.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, like I've said before, you know, one of the things that I used to get a real kick out of with a lot of the World War III games is I'd open them up and I want to see where I live on the map. Like, if I'm going to play the Russian horde, like my primary, screw the scenario objectives, I'm running over my old house. You know, that's what I'm after.
Yeah.
Hey, the itinerant hobbyist has stopped by. Yes, he claims
Nice.
He is pleased to see us. He claims we are real people. He's pleased to see that we are real people.
Well, that's why I asked. Are you sure? Are we not the life model decoys?
That's a high praise.
Yeah. Well, no, but you know, this Brent, we talked about this on the podcast. You know, we all had the little bit of fiction right at the front of all of our Cold War goes hot games.
Yeah.
Right. And it was all predicated on, and it usually started with November 1984, Reagan makes belligerent speech at Brandenburg Gate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, and it went through those things, and that's how Full the Gap happens.
Yeah. In the meantime, those of us living in Germany at the time, like, would you please not do that?
Yeah. Stop doing that.
Yeah,
No,
and that's
bad
right.
president.
Please, we're right here. We are right here.
Well, so look, we were in Garmisch at the time, which again, like, you know, if you've got to get stuck being stationed somewhere in the military, a ski resort is really not a bad place to go. And I'll tell you, whoever set up the FAO program, I don't know how they snuck this through, but the old East European FAO program glide path was you were stuck at Fort Bragg for 6 months going through the FAO Q course, because it used to be run by the Special Warfare Center. The JFK Special Warfare Center, Kellogg knows, we used to do work with them. The same guys that run the Green Beret training program. They handle the FAO program also. So you're stuck at Fort Bragg for 6 months having to go through the FAO Q course. Then you're off to Monterey for language school. Right. So let's go hang out in a California resort town for a year and a half for language school. And then you turn around and you get sent to Garmisch for 2 years. So now you're hanging out in a ski resort in the Alps for 2 years. You know, while you go through your higher education component and the rest of the FAO qualification program. And then you're off to your FAO stuff. And a whole bunch of those guys all ended up in Potsdam at the U.S. military liaison mission up there. We at one point, like of the 12 dudes at the mission, 9 of them had been my dad's classmates at some point in there. But yeah, the Russians weren't invading Garmisch, right? I mean, there's zero strategic value to the whole thing unless they just need somewhere to send their dudes on vacation. And it was also the headquarters of the German 1st Mountain Division, which you don't really want to mess with those guys on their home terrain. If Boyer's still listening, he'll get a kick out of this net. I always felt for whatever Russian unit got assigned to have to take down Grafenwehr and Hohenfels, because there's an American permanent party unit stationed there as the OPFOR that knows that terrain like nobody's business. And you could have a reinforced company team hold Hohenfels for the better part of like 6 months against whatever the Russians were going to throw at it, because they knew every single minuscule little hidey hole in Hohenfels. It was probably one of the first nuke targets the Russians wanted to just blast just to not have to fight it. But like, you weren't going to pick on the German 1st Mountain Division in their home, in their own backyard.
Yeah.
So we weren't stressed too much about Garmisch getting rolled under the Russian hobnail boot, but once we were further up on the German plane, it was a problem.
Wait a minute, what just happened?
Steven's having a good time back there.
I'm sorry. I was going to jump on at some point and say I'm actually gaming with my kids. So if you see weird expressions, but I got audible there for a second. Sorry.
What did they just do?
I went,
How was you?
So, yeah, again, you used to be able to set your watch to the German RF4 overflight over Herborn-Selbach because it came over the same time every day. So it was just the norm. That's just.
Well, what does any of this have to do with Napoleonic wargaming? Really?
We covered this on a podcast also. Remember, Why Do We Care?
Right. See, no.
Why do we care? Why do we care?
Look at the
Why do you make me play those silly games every Saturday night?
I gotta head out, guys. I'll see you next time.
Take care, Adam.
Yeah, see ya.
Bye, Adam.
Bye.
Anyway, Brant, so I've been sort of floating back and forth with the thing, but I don't want to try and multi-process this too long or leave you guys out or get them upset at me. So I'll leave in a couple minutes here. But I want to, at least it was interesting hearing all this stuff. So you guys post-date me, and my dad was in the military. That was in the 70s, early 70s, and the 60s, and we were on SAC bases where basically if things happened, well, didn't matter. You were not going to be around any longer.
Yeah.
And then after the joys of SAC bases, we before we retired, we spent time on a Polaris sub base, but that's another story.
Yeah.
In Europe.
Probably not one you're supposed to talk about much anyway.
Well, these days, I don't know if it matters. I mean, some of it's all out in published books now, like the like the attack sub that came in one time, went into the floating die dock with this large dent in its front hull.
Yeah. Oops. So.
But we got tours of a lot of interesting ships there and things, and yeah, I know there was a lot of stuff talked about that even as a teenager I could figure out at the time that probably shouldn't have been talked about in public circles, but.
Yeah.
Spain was a lot more. That was back when Franco was still in charge in Spain, so it was a little bit not like it is now.
Hey, just out of curiosity, is he still dead?
That's the theory. I'm not sure. That
Adam's not here. The rest of y'all should be old enough to get that reference.
Oh yeah, I remember that. I even saw him once, very briefly, because he visited the base on the Spanish side of the base. Anyway, so Friday's always going to be a bit tough in terms of me joining you guys. You're going to do this on Fridays. I'm assuming since I didn't hear from you, you're not worried about giving anything at the talks at the War College for online origins.
Not for the online origins. There's too much weirdness. So Jim, how many games did you finally end up submitting for Origins Online? 2. And then Rick Billings has 3 or 4 that he's doing. So we have a minor Armchair Dragoons presence.
You are going to do games, so we can mention that. Okay.
We do have a couple.
And then we'll have,
we don't have a very big presence.
And then we'll have online connections a couple months later.
That I might actually be able to make it to, since you guys are going to do it all online. So.
Apparently, yep. And that's about it. So anyway, good listening to, and at least seeing some of you. And I wish I had a fancy Zoom background too, but I found out that my virtual Zoom backgrounds won't work unless I had a completely solid color behind me or a green screen. And I can't set that up, so I can't use any of my neat virtual Zoom backgrounds like some people can. But
what are you talking about? Skellogg's actually got a baby Yoda over at his house.
Anyway, so good to do that. We'll catch you later. I'll sign off now, and I'll see if I can make the next time you guys run a session.
Coolio. We don't know when that's going to be, so don't sweat it.
All righty.
It'll be sometime after we get Martok a camera so that he can play along, or that he gets his mic fixed so that he can. Yeah. Well, he had thrown up in the Zoom chat that he was 13 when the wall came down and remembers in such utter disbelief at the time. As a moment, nobody thought would ever happen. So, but Gordon, good luck in your TTS game tonight. Go kick some butt.
Talk to you later. Yep. Thanks. Bye.
Good night.
Night.
And I'm probably going to drop here in a minute too. I've got my kids yelling at me to get in voice with them. So.
Right.
Aren't you guys all in the same house?
No.
Oh, okay. I thought you had the
Besides,
kids.
I'm upstairs. Son is downstairs.
Yeah. Dude, it's not like we didn't used to scream between conference rooms back at CCIS or something.
That's true.
So
that's true. Sorry for the outburst earlier. I had a very frustrating spot in the game.
All right, it was more lively than what we were doing.
My Germany story with language was one of the times I went for CCIS, and we were doing a exercise at Graf, and I was at a little hotel about 30 minutes away. So, late nights driving back, I'd get there, and the only people available were the mom and dad who spoke no English at all. So I would basically walk up and say, "Hi, food," and then I'd go sit in their little restaurant, and they'd bring me whatever they could heat up from what they had served that night. Which the first night was really disappointing because it was French onion soup, and I hate onions. I never eat onions. And just smile and say thank you and stuff as much bread in your face as you can. And yeah, so
hope for the best.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was going to tell him back at CCIS where Steven's talking about, that's where we know each other from, is the defense contractor I used to work at. Were you the CTO or CIO? CIO, right?
Yeah.
Among other things.
Sure.
But I mean, I was hired on as the second technical person after Zooks.
Yeah.
As a developer, but I had an IT background as well. And so I took over the networks. Of course, I did business analyst work for whatever. So
yeah. But there were a pair of conference rooms there with the big screen TVs. And so, of course, we had a pair of Xboxes hooked up in there also. So every once in a while, we'd have some game nights later in the evenings where we would wire the two together. And so we'd be playing 4v4 between the two conference rooms. And at one point, we were just sort of shouting across the building to each other. And finally, we realized, look, we got intercoms on the damn phones. We just opened an intercom line between the two rooms to be able to talk smack at each other. And,
the best part of that was all of a sudden somebody's phone would ring and they'd like, oh, wait, shh. And then everybody would pause. Oh, hey, honey. Yeah, I've got to work late tonight. I'll be done probably in another 30 minutes.
Click. Okay, turn it back up. Let's go.
Okay, go.
But yeah, more than a few game nights. And again, like, I'm not a console gamer at all. Like I'm a video gamer for the Civ series, but that's it. But I'm not a console gamer at all. And so I was the cannon fodder for most of the Halo games. But Steven was actually there. In the entire time I was working there, I won one Halo 4-player match.
Really? Yes.
And he was in it. He was one of the ones that I won one. And of
course, I wasn't looking at the screen, but
yeah, and I'm not sure I've played Halo since, actually. I think I quit on my winning streak.
It has come out for PC.
Yep.
Yeah.
Nice
well, we've got it for Kieran's Xbox, and we've got both an Xbox One and a something else that we could hook the two of them up and get a couple of head-to-head things going here. But
you see, they jacked up Doom.
I haven't looked at it in a long time.
My son plays Doom Eternal.
Yeah.
Which is, look, it's flat gorgeous. Okay, don't get me wrong. I look at this and go, I lean over his shoulder and go, remember when I played this game, you couldn't even look up.
It was only one color.
It was mono. It was
green or blue.
4 colors. One of them was cyan.
Yeah.
It was, so we have 4 colors. No, but I'm looking at this and it's spectacular. But I'm like, all right, well, do you play multiplayer? No, I don't. Well, could you show me? I would like to see the multiplayer. So what does he do? What does he go and do? He goes out and I see it's 3 players. 2 hunters and a demon. That's it.
Oh, yeah.
2 demons and a hunter. Sorry.
Oh wow.
2 Demons in Heart. Like, what happened to 32 guy battle royales where you just for 30 minutes sit there and
Slay
chop
each
at
other.
each other with chainsaws? What happened?
Yeah.
I'm sad.
I remember seeing a setup at a game convention one time where it was like a 16-player battle royale, everybody free for all, and it's fun. Like if you're at a game convention, so this was mid '90s. This was a game convention in the San Francisco Bay Area, and like if you've got the moxie to sit down at a 16-player battle royale at a game convention, you probably know what you're doing. And I was still astounded at the number of guys sort of looking over shoulders. Hey, you want me to tell you where the shotgun is? He's like, I got it, right? Like I know what I'm doing. You know, I've won 4 of these tournaments already this weekend. I think I'm okay. You know, it's like I'm observing this conversation. I am no way a participant in this conversation at all. Like I'm
my life's one achievement is knowing where that shotgun is.
Yeah. Or not needing the shotgun because you know where the rocket launcher is, or something else comparable to that. You know, it's like I'm good. Like, do you see my score is 4 times the next best player in the game? You know, I got it. You know. And
so now I'm going to date myself because we used to do LAN parties. You know, before Xbox and all the console nonsense. We had a big, my company that I was working at had a 17-foot boardroom table. Yeah. We get 8 guys would bring their home computers, pile them all on the machine, all on the desk, land them all together, and we played Carmageddon for like days.
That was great. Yeah. Loved Carmageddon.
Oh yeah, it was brilliant.
Well, the Xbox was one of the first that allowed you to hardwire that network between them.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know, there was that MS architecture underneath it. And when I was a teaching assistant at Marquette University, it's entirely possible that I rigged up a LAN game of Halo with 8 Xboxes. It must have been 4. No, it was 4 because we had 16 players. And we might have thrown the screen up onto the projector at the Varsity Theater.
Maybe though, not
probably. I might have had the keys because I was the trusted staff assistant of a very, very dear Jesuit priest.
So Stephen will get a kick out of this one. There were some dudes in Kosovo that had wired up a couple of Xboxes together on night shift at one of the command posts just to be able to pass some time, except that, you know, shit hits the fan and suddenly there's everybody coming into the command post. They got to get all the Xboxes out of the way, clear them. And that's not the issue. Like, you know, they had a bit of a battle drill already figured out for how do we clear all this crap out of the way? How do we, you know, how do we instantly reset for the boss to do his thing? Except as they're doing this, apparently one of the dudes got a little careless as they're wiring these things together, and he had plugged his Xbox into the LAN jack with a red cable. Oh. Now the reason Stevens recognizes you use the red cables for the zipper net for the secure stuff.
Oh, yeah,
don't use those for the unclass network. So now you got a red cable coming out of the Xbox, and the IT guys that are coming in to reset everything are like, what are you plugging an Xbox in? Yeah. They just used the wrong color cable to plug it into the unclass network. Just, you know, high pucker factor when you see an Xbox with a red cable coming out of it. You're like, ruh-roh.
All right. Well, before I got to head out, I want to mention, I just saw it over the news feed that Harold Buchanan has canceled SDCCon. So,
wow.
Another one down.
Again, I think we're all expecting Origins to bite the dust. We're just waiting for the confirmation at this point.
Yeah. So. Yeah, no, it's this 2020 is a loss, I think.
Yeah.
For all these cons. Let's
the one that I'm interested to see if they pull off, and if they do, I may try to go to. I'm curious to see if Mace is far enough away, because that's usually around Veterans Day weekend. If Mace actually ends up being able to go, if there's enough of a change in circumstance that Jeff is able to still get Mace going. It's out in Charlotte over Veterans Day weekend. If that one can go, I may try and make it to Mace this year. I'd gone 2 years ago. I didn't make it last year. But if Jeff gets Mace up, then I may try and do it. We'll see.
Yeah, I tend to think that everything over, you know, non-virtual size is pretty much is up for the top. I think the It's the same thing Gen Con did. It's the same thing Origins is doing. It's the same thing that, well, World Board Gaming Championship has just said it's canceled.
Yeah.
Until next year.
HMGS, they canceled Historicon.
Well, right, and they've just, but they came out and they said, oh, but we're going to make Cold Wars that much better. Or we're going to make Cold Wars that much better. It's like, okay.
Hey, Boyer's invited us to BoyerCon and says he's got the mini beer with fridge, the mini fridge with the beer. I'm not sure a mini fridge is going to have a sufficient quantity of beer, though. That's
per
person, or
exactly. especially if the Canadians start showing up, you know.
Telling you. So I'm going to head, guys, but a real pleasure.
Yeah, I think we may be unplugging here.
Yeah,
so,
I think so.
But next time it comes up, we'll do it. But otherwise, I'll just put in my pitch. Those who are coming, Saturday Night Fights tomorrow, Agram Part 2. Love you. See you there.
Yep. Vance, thank you for letting us use your Zoom bridge.
Yeah, no doubt.
Thanks, not a problem, man.
Steven, thank you for making some time on your birthday to hang out with a bunch of us.
Happy birthday.
So,
thanks.
Happy birthday, man.
Appreciate it.
And to the 3 people, what do we have?
Oh, we got watching?
Well, there's 5 on there, but I think Jim and I are 2 of them. So, so to the other 3 people out there, appreciate y'all swinging by, and whoever happens to stick this far through the recording, thank you for joining us. So cool. Right. Vance, thanks, man. And Steven, happy birthday. And
thanks.
Good night, everybody.
Good weekend, y'all. Bye.
We can do it again anytime.
You bet.